Hey YouTube, Brian here. Yu-Gi-Oh's next core booster set, Alliance Insight, is just a few weeks out from release, and with it will come a whole slew of new support for old and new archetypes alike. Regenesis, Diabellstar, Dragon Rulers, Mitsurugi, and of course Raizio and Maliss will all be getting new support cards in this set. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the new Maliss support, discuss its merits, and at the end I'll show everyone what the new support enables Maliss to do. Let's start by going over the two new cards Maliss will be receiving. Maliss P March Hare is a fantastic piece of new support for the deck that gives it a searchable in-archetype extender. Like all the other main deck names, her first effect applies when Maliss Link monsters point to her, making them untargetable by your opponent's card effects. Unlike the other Maliss main deck monsters, however, March Hare's second effect activates from the hand instead of on the field. During the main phase, you can banish a Maliss card from your hand or graveyard to special summon her from the hand. That's right, she's an in-archetype Bystial, and as we've learned in the past, Bystials are a match made in heaven for Maliss. Last but not least, she also has an effect when banished, just like the other names, but unlike them, she doesn't special summon herself from the banished, rather she targets one of your banished Maliss monsters and adds it to your hand. Importantly, she can add herself back with this effect, making her an extremely flexible extender for the deck. Though she isn't a starter, March Hare is still an amazing addition to the archetype, giving it new forms of extension and resiliency that can more than make up for the most recent damages it suffered from the April Forbidden and Limited list. Next, we have a new spell card, Maliss in the Mirror, a quick play spell which targets a face-up monster your opponent controls and negates its effects by banishing a Maliss monster from your hand or field. When banished, you can target a Maliss card in your graveyard, banish it, and add one of the same super type from your deck, monster, spell, or trap. Maliss in the Mirror is a welcome addition to the deck as a second target you can search off of Red Ransom. Previously, the only spell card in the Maliss archetype was Maliss in Underground, meaning it was the only card Red Ransom could search. The addition of Mirror means that if you already have Underground in hand, you can search for a piece of Interruption instead. And an in-archetype Infinite Impermanence is actually very relevant for the deck, as it previously struggled with answering Evil Storm Exciton Knight against Raizio, as its normal end board contains no targeted negation. Not only that, when going second, the card serves as a board breaker that also helps your Maliss monsters dodge targeted negation, like Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence. The second effect of Mirror may read a bit underwhelming at first, but it does add a layer of extension to your Maliss combos that is very beneficial to playing around hand traps. I will demonstrate that later in this video. All in all, March Hare and Maliss in the Mirror are fantastic support pieces for Maliss that help to shore up some of its weaknesses and provide an even greater ceiling to the deck. March Hare can be used going second to establish Maliss monsters on the field before you even take your first turn. She can even offer some counterplay to Chaos Hunter, as unlike Bystials, her quick effect is not dependent on your opponent controlling a monster. Mirror offers the deck a piece of interaction it didn't have before, allowing now for some protection against houses like Exciton Knight. I would recommend adding 2 to 3 copies of March Hare and 1 copy of Mirror to your Maliss deck when Alliance Insight releases. That's it for the direct Maliss support cards. However, we're not quite done yet. Alliance Insight also introduces new Adagnister support, which, though not Maliss cards in name, function perfectly with the deck. Starting off, we have Backup Adagnister. That's right, our favorite secretary just came back from leg day and she got a hell of an upgrade. Backup Adagnister is a pseudo starter as well as an incredible extender for the deck. If you control a Cyberse monster special summoned from the extra deck, she can special summon herself from the hand. If she's summoned, you can add a Dark Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand, except herself, then discard a card. Effectively, she's Signet Mining in reverse on legs. Then we have her Spotter, Wizard Adagnister. If you control a Cyberse monster special summoned from the extra deck, you can target a Dark Cyberse monster in your graveyard and special summon both himself and that monster. Notably, this effect does lock you into Cyberse monsters for the rest of the turn, so keep that in mind if you have Bystials in hand. You can also banish him from your field or graveyard to change the battle position of a monster your opponent controls. Both of these cards are amazing additions to the deck, offering additional extension and consistency to remedy the damage Maliss suffered from the previous ban list. Backup and Wizard also help to resolve Maliss's greatest weakness to Artifact Lancia by giving it backup lines that don't require banishing cards. Quite a fitting name indeed. I would recommend adding 3 copies of Backup Adagnister and 1 copy of Wizard Adagnister to your deck once Alliance Insight releases. If you want additional ways to get to backup Adagnister, you can add copies of AI Meets You to your deck to search her, or you can also play a copy of Cyber's Wicked to your extra deck, because that's right, backup is also a tuner. Last but not least, we have Echo Talker Adagnister, a new boss monster for the deck that outshines even Neo Tempest Terahertz. When link summoned, you can special summon as many Cyber's monsters with 2300 attack from your graveyard to the zones he points to, giving him 500 attack for each. This works perfectly with the Maliss Link monsters, as both Red Ransom and White Binder have exactly 2300 attack. Then, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can tribute a Link monster he points to negate the activation. Echo Talker gives Maliss something that the deck has been lacking ever since Neo Tempest Terahertz fell out of favor, an Omni Negate. This would obviously be incredible for any deck to have, but even more so for Maliss, as the deck had no protection against board breakers for the longest time. He's much more extra deck space efficient than Neo Tempest Terahertz, and I recommend playing one copy of him in your deck once Alliance Insight releases. So that's it for the Adagnister cards. As you can see, Maliss will receive some incredible tools with the release of an Alliance Insight that will almost certainly propel the deck back into top tier status. But that's enough theory, let's actually put the cards to the test. So in this combo, I'm going to show everyone what the new support coming in Alliance Insight will allow us to do with our standard Maliss combos. So in this combo, I have Dormouse as well as Backup Adagnister, and then just any card that you can discard off of Backup Adagnister's effect. Here, we're going to go ahead and normal our Dormouse, and the beginning of this combo will look pretty similar to our old combos. We're going to use White Rabbit to go ahead and set our GWC06, and then link our White Rabbit into Lingerevo. Unfortunately, with the Link Decoder ban, there isn't really anything that's a good replacement. Lingerevo is just the one that has some utility sometimes, especially when you're facing against trap decks like Labyrinth or Odeon. And here we're just summoning Lingerevo, so that this is a way to turn on our Backup Adagnister, since this is a Cyber sponsor summoned from the extra deck. We're going to use Backup Adagnister to go ahead and add our Wizard Adagnister, ditching the random card in our hand, and then we're going to go ahead and link summon for Red Ransom. Red Ransom here is going to grab our Underground, and you can already see here why the Link Decoder ban was so impactful, because pre-ban list, we would have link summoned Link Decoder instead of Lingerevo, and then when we made Red Ransom, we would have Red Ransom and Link Decoder here. That means we can go straight into SP Lower Knight, and SP Low Knight will banish our Red Ransom from the graveyard, and SP Low Knight will then act as protection from Nibiru for us. Now, because Link Decoder is now banned, we don't have that extra body anymore, and there's not really a sufficient replacement for that. I saw that some people were mentioning Dotscaper in my previous video, but Dotscaper does not really work because you need a body specifically here, not after you banish Red Ransom. And so, because of that, the combos did get a bit weaker without Link Decoder, but as you see here, the new support does help us make up for that. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Underground, and then Underground is going to go ahead and banish our Maliss in the Mirror. So Maliss in the Mirror is fantastic here because we have not used our Dormouse effect yet, and so what we're going to do is we're going to use Maliss in the Mirror, targeting our Dormouse, and then adding a copy of March Hare from our deck to our hand. So now, with both March Hare and Wizard Adagnister in our hand, our combo is basically fully insulated against Nibiru, because no matter where our opponent Nibiru is here, we can always summon March Hare from our hand, and then link the two into a IP Masquerena, and then that would allow us to use our Wizard Adagnister to summon himself and summon a name from grave, and you can just continue comboing from there. So here we're going to go ahead and use Dormouse to special summon herself, and then since we have our extra body, we go ahead and use SP to summon our to banish our Ransom, and then Ransom to banish our Chessy Cat. And if you remember the setup from pre-ban list, this is very strong against Nibiru, even without the two extenders in our hand. So here we're going to go for Chessy Cat, and the nice part about having March Hare in our deck now is March Hare is probably the freest Chessy Cat material like in the game, because you just use Chessy Cat to banish March Hare to draw 2 cards, and then March Hare can just go ahead and add herself straight back to your hand. So March Hare basically makes Chessy Cat into a literal pot of greed. And so here we're going to go ahead and link for White Binder, and then White Binder we're just going to banish a name to fuel Cryptor later on, and then we'll use White Binder to go ahead and set TB11. DB11 here will banish White Binder to summon just any name from the deck, and then White Binder will draw us a card. So we've drawn 3 cards so far, and we're going to go ahead and link summon Cryptor. So if your opponent has not Nibiru to you here, then their Nibiru won't matter like basically at any point at all, because even if they end up tributing your Cryptor, you always have GWC on your opponent's turn, summon back your White Binder, banish your Cryptor, banish your Red Ransom, banish your White Rabbit. You get 2 non-targeting banishes as well as all the follow-up for the next turn, and then you also had 3 draws to draw into any kind of non-engine that you need to protect yourself from your opponent's plays. So after we summon Cryptor, we're going to go ahead and use Wizard Adagnister to summon himself, summon any Maliss name from grave, and then we're going to go ahead and link him to Splash Mage here, which might be interesting to some of you, but it's part of the setup that I'll explain later. And here we're done with all of our non-Cyberse plays, so we're totally fine with locking ourselves into Cyberse. And we're going to use Splash Mage to go ahead and go into our Decode Talker Heat Soul. We're going to use Heat Soul effect to draw a 4th card, and then we're going to use our March Hare to go ahead and banish our Cryptor. We haven't used our Cryptor effect, so we're going to use her effect to summon herself back. And something to note is that this combo does put you at a pretty low life total, so you have to be really careful about that. GWC will get you life points on your opponent's turn, so it really shouldn't be too big of a deal if you get to this point, because your board will be so formidable that it's unlikely that your opponent will be able to threaten your life points in any way. And so just be careful when you do go through this combo, because your life points do get quite low. And so we're going to link all 3 into the new boss monster, Acco Talker Adagnister, and then we're going to use Acco Talker Adagnister's effect to go ahead and bring back Red Ransom and Heat Soul. So this setup is quite strong, but the main reason we went into the Heat Soul is so that we don't have to summon White Binder to a zone Acco Talker points to. So if you don't know, Acco Talker, you have to summon as many Cyberse monsters with 2300 attack as possible. And so if this Cryptor was not here, I would have to summon Red Ransom, White Binder, and Heat Soul to these 3 zones exactly. You can't choose to summon any less. And then once that effect resolves, you cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. So I don't like to have White Binder be on the field at the end of my turn, because I like having White Binder in the graveyard to make GWC into basically a DD Crow. So take the situation where your opponent starts their turn with Engraver, Search Tract, and then Tract, Search, Lurry. You can chain your GWC to your opponent's Tract, so that on a new chain, their Lurry will be trailing 1, your White Binder will be trailing 2, and your White Binder can target their Engraver and their Lurry, as well as a White Rabbit in your graveyard to banish all 3. And that's something you don't have access to if your White Binder is just on your field chilling. And the only way, if you have to summon your White Binder to Acco Talker's zone, the only way for you to get her in graveyard is to use Acco Talker's Omni Negate to tribute her for cost. But the thing is, you don't really want to use your Omni Negate willy-nilly like that. You really want to save Acco Talker's Omni Negate for your opponent's like most crucial like board breakers, or like most important combo pieces that you can't answer with your other pieces of interaction. Things like Triple Tactics Thrust or Triple Tactics Talents, or like Raigeki or whatever, those come to mind. Like you want to save your Acco Talker Adagnister's Omni Negate for that specifically. So you don't want to use it like willy-nilly to tribute your White Binder just so you can get a DD Crow. You'd much prefer to just have White Binder be in graveyard so that your GWC can act as a DD Crow in of itself. And so that's partly why we made the Heat Soul, so that here, since we put Cryptor in one of Acco Talker's zones, we only have to summon 2 monsters with 2300 attack, which Heat Soul and Red Ransom will fulfill that, and then we can afford to just leave our White Binder in the graveyard. And Heat Soul on our opponent's turn here is going to draw us a 5th card, and that will be the extent of this combo. So yeah, you started with a 2.5 card combo, so you just needed any discard along with Dormouse and backup Adagnister, and you get an Omni Negate, you get a non-targeting banish, you get 5 draws. GWC gets you a DD Crow, and then White Binder, when summoned, will banish your White Rabbit to get you MTP07, which is a 2nd non-targeting banish. And White Binder can also banish March Hare, which becomes a Bestial, and gets you pretty much all the follow-up you would ever need. And so yeah, this combo is just one of the combos that you can do with the new support coming out in Alliance Insight. And I'm not going to show every combo that is available to us with the new support in Alliance Insight, at least not in this video, just because this video is just a first look into what's going to be coming out, and there's still a lot that we're testing around and playing with. Yeah, more videos will probably come out in the future with like additional combos and different combo routes that you can do. In particular, I think it's justifiable if you don't want to play Heatzel. You could play Transcode Talker. I actually think there is merit to Transcode Talker because when you have Transcode Talker and you summon it to like Echo Talker's zone, for instance, it makes your co-linked monsters untargetable, which can be very valuable. Since you can summon Transcode Talker here, have it be co-linked to Echoed and Red Ransom, so that none of these can be targeted. And so, yeah, it's just a really effective way to kind of protect your board from what your opponent has. Heatzel, I think, is just the first thing we're experimenting with because he's just like a really solid, draw 2 that you can go into for like any scenarios where like backup is your only play or you're like under Lancia or something. Because the thing about backup at Ignister is that while she is good, she is not a one-card starter. And so if you have backup plus any like normal summonable hand trap, she is a starter. So if you have like Astral Droll in your hand, you can normal summon them, make Almirage, and then that turns on your backup, and then backup can search Dormouse, discard Dormouse, and then you can link 2 into Lizardos to banish your Dormouse and combo that way. Unfortunately, that combo does not play around Nibiru, but if that's all you have in your hand, then you just have to put your opponent on having it. But if all you have is backup at Ignister and nothing else to summon along with her, then the only plays you can make are kind of like generic link plays with like Heatzel or Transcode or like IP Masquerader. And so, yeah, yeah, I showed how the combo basically plays like fully around Nibiru, and you don't have to worry about that at all. And it sets up an end board that is very hard to crack, giving you basically a fresh new hand in the process. And so yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hope everyone enjoyed. If you'd like to see more of these in the future, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment or join our Discord. And yeah, see everyone in the next one.